Welcome to the 21st Users Conference here in Prague. It gives me great pleasure, and thank you, Peter Seidel, for inviting me to do this, to give you a short, brief message before you begin the conference. This conference has a long history, both here and also internationally. This year we had over 15,000 people that came. And there's a real reason why this conference is so powerful and so exciting. And it has to do with not only you learning, but also you sharing your work, learning from each other, growing as a community, doing GIS work, doing advanced cartography and geography. This is really a good meeting. This year, I'd like to start off by acknowledging a few special users here. This year we picked for the cover of ArcNews, which goes out all over the world, the city of Prague's cartography. Fantastic work. There's something about the Czechs in cartography. Also this year, the SAG Award for cartography went to the National Mapping Agency here that makes all the topographic and cadastral maps. Just superb work, providing the foundation, both in data and cartography, for so much of the GIS overlays that the rest of you do. And it goes on and on. Lots of examples in other fields, in environmental fields, in the utilities. Now, the largest utility here in Prague and actually the largest in Central Europe and one of the largest in all of Europe, CEZ, has fully implemented and is operational with one of the more complicated geodatabases and GIS implementations in the world. So I want to acknowledge your work because it's really just fantastic. All of you are doing frontier work in your respective fields. There's just hundreds and hundreds of efforts going on. I like to mention these because they're a strategic footprint in what we are doing internationally. People notice you. They notice you from other countries. And by the way, in this country, your national mapping agency and hosted countries from all around Europe, national mapping agencies, to compare and learn from you and learn from each other. This is good work, and I appreciate that. You know, GIS is becoming infrastructure in different countries. In my country, we have a project called the Geospatial Platform. This is bringing different services together and sharing them among federal and national agencies. And in Indonesia, this is going on. It's happening in the Middle East. We are very gradually, because of the technology and because of your good work, growing in our ability to create these geography as a platform, SDI, as it's commonly known. And here in Europe, through a lot of work by a lot of people, the Inspire movement on a kind of architecture and data modeling has been emerging as really very strong. So some years ago, Esri has started an effort to extend our product to make it fully Inspire ready. So now we can create Inspire databases, serve them as part of our standard product, not as something different, but we've actually integrated Inspire standards and visions and technology so that you, as you publish your data, can make it available and be compliant in a larger context, all of Europe. And of course, there's lots of data policy issues that are associated with that and collaborative efforts, but it inspires me that we are Inspire ready. So that's very exciting. This year, we chose as our theme for the international conference, GIS opening our world. And what we meant by that is that GIS is now reaching a stage in technology where it's ready to open geography for the rest of the world to see and explore. It's also at a stage where GIS itself is expanding because of the technology, because of cloud, because of mobile devices, to support all aspects of organizations. That is, GIS is not going to be just for GIS practitioners, although GIS practitioners will provide the backbone and foundation. The concepts and tools of cartography and mapping and integration of data and collaboration are going to expand across your entire organizations. This is happening because GIS itself is becoming more powerful and easy to use. It itself is moving to a cloud platform, but also it's co-evolving with many other trends. More measurement in remote sensing, LiDAR, GPS, etc. Also, this is resulting in big data, and our ability to handle big data is advancing. Computing is not only getting faster, it's also residing in clouds that we can access anywhere, anytime, by anyone on any device. And devices themselves, like my little iPhone or iPad, can give me access to this anytime, anywhere information. And the world of apps is changing how we experience geographic data. Instead of the classic desktop model of functions and data, we are moving to interactive web maps, which can be accessed and published and accessed and used on any device with basically a completely different user experience, a UX, which is intuitive for citizens to look at our work, to serve policy people, to serve knowledge workers that have no GIS training at all. And that's very exciting to me. So what does this mean for us as practitioners in the future? You will be the stewards of this infrastructure, the creators and managers of authoritative data information, the orchestrators of this infrastructure to bring geographic knowledge throughout the organization. This will be a very important job. You'll also be the implementers of the technology, adopting and promoting these new patterns that are enabled by the web cloud environment. And these advances will certainly evolve your position within organizations. People will come to know them like they have come to know email or other pervasive technologies that now exist. Content is also becoming more available. It's becoming available not only in the Czech Republic, but the entire world. We're publishing web map services and image services and geocoding services that people can use as background or dial tone kinds of services to complement their own work. ArcGIS Online is a complete, well, it's part of a complete system. It's a complete cloud mapping and sharing environment that lets us manage our content either in the open cloud, like the Amazon cloud or Microsoft cloud, or in our own on-premise cloud environments. And that's very valuable for GIS practitioners for sharing and so on. It also is a new set of applications which are very easy to use that don't take a lot of training, and that will matter quite a bit for making geographic information pervasive. Well, you're going to hear about from my colleague Ismael Chivite, who will talk about his own world, a new server platform, but also generally about the GIS product improvements that happened at 10.1. Better cartography, more efficient editing, more analytic tools for providing insight and analytics to geographic information, new tools for app creation and dissemination of them, ability to better analyze imagery and take advantage of the rich foundation that LiDAR information is giving us, because at 10.1 we can simply read it and use it and exploit all the ArcGIS tools that exist inside of it. Thank you for coming here. This is a huge conference by any measure and a very successful one, and what I'm particularly proud about with you is the rich community of relationships and sharing that you have created here in the Czech Republic. This is very exciting to me because obviously you care. Obviously you are collaborating as expressed by the wonderful work that you are accomplishing there. So good luck and have a wonderful conference. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Oh, okay. Welcome everybody. I wanted to first thank you ARCDATA and Peter for giving me a chance to come to this beautiful city, although I was expecting a little bit better weather, by the way. I came from Moscow in a plane. You couldn't see anything. It was all foggy. And actually, the guy made it. We landed. I was pretty surprised. Nobody can beat that. I mean, there was no visibility, and we landed fine. And then I took a taxi here to the conference center, and the taxi driver a few days ago was driving in complete no visibility weather, and he made it as well. I was very impressed from the very first moment here in the Czech Republic. My name is Ismael Chivite, and Peter asked me to share with you some thoughts, some inside view on the vision for building ArcGIS, and that's the theme of the conference, Opening Our World. So I will talk a little bit about, well, what goes in our minds in Esri when we build ArcGIS. Why are we building the things we are building? I think we are all together here because we have something in common. And what we have in common is an understanding that spatial and geography can help us do our job better. By using geographic relationships and maps and geographic science, we can make things more efficient. We can make better decisions. And this is not really something that is an academic discussion and people are trying to figure if this is the case or not. No, this is a proven approach to do our job much better. There are different industries where the geographic advantage is being used. Insurance companies use it. Countries use it to develop the country, to decide how to grow their cities, how to expand the transportation network. Utility companies use it to make their daily jobs much more efficient and provide better services to users. We in Esri build GIS software. This is what makes this vision of using geography to solve problems a reality. It makes this vision come alive. These maps help us integrate and apply our knowledge, but also, even most importantly, maps also allow us to communicate with people because maps are fairly intuitive and people can use them to sit around a table and make decisions on top of that map. ArcGIS software has changed over many years. You are looking at over 30 years of evolution of GIS software. And Esri has moved this technology along with many technology trends and societal trends. And that's why ArcGIS is changing continuously. There are two big motivations why we change and evolve our software. One is we try to do advancements in geographic science. We try to add more tools into our software so they will help you solve more complex problems. How to better manage your data, how to create more sophisticated analysis, and so on. But there is another driver in this evolution of the software, which is how can we build software that will help you disseminate this idea that geography is useful, that maps can help people make better decisions. That's what we really mean by opening our world. Opening our world from an understanding perspective, how geography can help me understand what happens around me, but also opening our world as in sharing this idea of using maps to solve everyday problems, and not only among GIS practitioners, but also among really everyone. Our latest release of ARCGIS 10.1 is charged with many new enhancements. ARCGIS 10.1 provides many incremental updates or enhancements on tools that you are already familiar with. In the first part of my presentation, I will talk about these incremental changes. In the second part, I will talk about how 10.1 can bring transformational changes. Changes that will probably redefine not only how you use GIS, but how you promote GIS around people that surround you. Let's talk about incremental enhancements. We used to be a company that developed software, but also from the very beginning, we were keen on developing data that provides the foundation for your own work. And there have been tremendous changes in how we deliver this data. Content today is fundamentally delivered to you through cloud services. These services are coming from several sources. Many Esri users share the data on the web, so other Esri users and third-party clients as well can access the data. You are very lucky, and you shouldn't take this for granted here in this country, that you have the National Mapping Agency and many other agencies publishing real high-quality data that you can use in your Esri applications. Here you can see a topographic map, 1 meter resolution imagery, and in this case, just for fun, I also mixed a map that shows a historical map of the Czech Republic. All of them available online for you to use in your own projects. Content is growing as well because Esri is actually investing quite a bit of money to make sure that you have the best content possible ready to use in your applications. Here you can see Esri street base map. The Esri topographic map, this is an interesting one because it's an initiative where we work with local agencies to pour your data sets into our base map so everybody can use them. And this is some of the imagery that we provide as well. By the way, these maps are worldwide maps, but of course they provide you with relevant information here in the Czech Republic as well. Now, one of the news that I want to share with you is that we plan to provide from Esri 60 centimeter resolution imagery for all Europe. And that includes, of course, the Czech Republic. And that will happen very soon. We also put quite a bit of energy into building a better desktop. This is the tool that the professionals of GIS use most of the time. And in 10.1, I want to highlight a couple of things. First, these desktop tools provide now you with much better tools for creating beautiful cartography. We have improved our generalization tools, we have dynamic legends, and many other things that you will see later in a demonstration by ARCDATA. From a licensing perspective, I want to announce that Maplex, the most advanced labeling engine that we have in ArcGIS, as of 10.1 is available not only in ArcInfo, but also in ArcEditor and also in ArcView. You get it with all editions of ArcGIS Desktop. And you can see also that we put quite a bit of energy as well in making sure that you can edit with more productive tools. Tools for QA, QC, editor tracking, and others. 10.1 incorporates over 140 new geoprocessing tools, so you can do more advanced analysis. Exploratory regression analysis to do multidimensional analysis on different layers. Routing enabled with historic and also real-time traffic information. 3D analysis, better kriging tools. We are going to release the 30th of this month, Service Pack 1 for ArcGIS 10.1. And it includes 64-bit execution for geoprocessing models. We are also enhancing our 3D capabilities. I want to share with you a few things that we are building. First of all, we are allowing you now in 10.1 to edit 3D data, edit multi-patch geometries. But we are also taking 3D to places that we never had them before. Let me open here a browser. This is a normal browser. It doesn't have any plugin whatsoever. It's just pure HTML. We have a tool called City Engine 2012, which we released about 3 weeks ago. It allows you to build very sophisticated 3D scenes for cities, for example. And this tool allows you to create files that you can serve on the internet, so anyone with a browser and without any plugin can use them and navigate. This is an airport in Norway, and you can see here that we have the imagery draped on top of a digital elevation model. You can see the mountains on the side. Look at the detail of the different houses. This is all in a 3D scene running in a browser. Of course, you can identify the elements in the scene. I have added to this view the obstruction analysis, that is, the areas that planes need, the volumes that planes need to really land and take off safely from the airport. And of course, we can mix this with analysis. In other words, we can, for example, detect in this scene which buildings are obstructing the areas that planes need to fly. This is available today, as I said, thanks to City Engine. We plan to incorporate these capabilities to display 3D in a web browser, not only with City Engine, but also within ArcScene. So around May next year, ArcScene will be able to export these images into the web. Let's move now into the iPad device. Tablets are more and more used by many people. And here I want to share with you some current development. This is running on an iPad, and as you can see, we can also look at globes within the iPad. In fact, I have a few bookmarks here. This is going to take me to Honolulu. It's one of the islands in Hawaii. This is where the Pearl Harbor attack in the Second World War started. Let's go into a big city, say San Francisco. Market Street is right in the middle of downtown in San Francisco. Look at the details of the buildings. Every building is unique. Having these 3D views, not only in a web browser or in a desktop, but also available in mobile devices, is important to us, because as you will see later, we want to make sure that the experience you have for GIS in a desktop can also be translated, moved into a web browser, or say a tablet like that one. Are you excited about these new enhancements in 10.1? Not a lot. In 10.1, we have also added tools to work with LiDAR. A few years ago, when people talked about LiDAR, they were really talking about a cabinet, a shelf with lots of hard drives and things. That's my LiDAR data. They couldn't really do much with it. Now we have tools within ArcGIS that can read LiDAR directly. And they can work with this data to create 3D scenes, to do analysis, to do volumetric calculations, and so on. Imagery. There was a time when you had to use ArcGIS to work with vector data, and then something else to work with imagery. ArcGIS today integrates imagery. So the typical tools that you need to manage, visualize, and analyze the information are part of ArcGIS. Of course, for the most sophisticated workflows, we can work with partners who add on top of our open platform for working with imagery. There are a couple of things that I want to highlight in 10.1 that are key for anyone working with imagery. The first one is this notion of a mosaic dataset. This is a new way to manage imagery, where you don't have to transform, load, or say physically mosaic or merge different images before you work with them. No, mosaic datasets can look at your raw imagery on disk, and on the fly doing the ortho rectification, color balancing, mosaicing, and so on. So while on disk you may have many different images, on the software we will look at the images as if it were a continuous surface. This saves tremendous time, allowing you to serve your imagery in a split of a second. The second aspect is on-the-fly analysis. This means that rather than taking the imagery, processing it, and creating a cartographic product, you can take the raw imagery, and through the mosaic dataset, you can derive different cartographic products on the fly. Say you want to derive NDVI. You don't need to burn your NDVI separately from the original multispectral image. You can directly take the image and ask the software, give me NDVI, give me true color, give me this band combination. 3 cartographic products created absolutely on the fly. This is possible because we made the software quick enough to be very efficient at doing all of these calculations at once and very quickly. The other aspect, which hopefully you will see later, is our integration with full motion video. You know, these planes and helicopters, they can fly and take video. And we can include in the video geographic information. That is fantastic because then you can look at the video on top of the map. Even better, you can look at the video, digitize on top of the video, and have these coordinates reflected in a 2D or a 3D map. Our server technology is quite important as well, because as you will see, ArcGIS is not moving, it has already moved into a world of cloud and web services. And ArcGIS server is the foundation for building these web services effectively. The 10.1 release is a radical change. In fact, 10.1 for server is the biggest release since 9.2. We have completely changed the architecture to make it much more easily installable, configurable, and you can administer it much more easily as well. It's a much more IT-friendly product, both on Windows, on Linux, whether you run it on premises or in the cloud. I have a couple of demonstrations that highlight just a couple of aspects of ArcGIS Server 10.1. Let's have a look at them. The first one is really about performance of geoprocessing services. Here you can see that I have side-by-side ArcGIS 10.1 versus the previous version. I'm going to click on the map and calculate a viewshed. A viewshed tells me what areas of my surrounding geography I can see from a tower. Say this tower is 10 meters high. Now you can tell that if I run in 10.1, it takes roughly 1.5 seconds to run in 10.1 versus 3.7 in the previous version. So a tremendous performance improvement. In this case, it's like maybe 4 or 5 times faster. Having a server that can do things more quickly is going to help you because, well, it's more scalable and also because it provides better user experiences. In fact, accelerating these functions allows me to define or create these nice user experiences where you can literally do the analysis on the fly. In the next demonstration, I really don't want you to get obsessed with the cartographic quality of my map. I call this a confetti map. What I did here is I simply added roughly 500,000 dots in Europe. And my purpose is just to demonstrate the improvements in performance for spatial queries. Now you can tell that as I move the map, the chart is updating. The chart is representing how many dots, say customers, I have in the current display, and it aggregates them by type, A, B, C, and so on. You could also generate the total revenue of all customers in the display and see the aggregation by type. This is done through spatial queries in 10.1, and if the chart can move so quickly, it's because these queries are so quick. So let's zoom out a little bit and now use a custom geography. I'm going to use this tool to draw a polygon. You see that, how it quickly updates? Well, that's how fast these spatial queries are in 10.1. In fact, just so you can really see how fast they really are, I'm going to use this little window, which is going to tell me exactly the time that it takes to create these queries. And as you can tell here, we are talking 20 milliseconds, 50 milliseconds response time. This is on a database that has over 500,000 points loaded, and is running in my laptop, which is not that bad for such a small machine. So 10.1 really brings lots of improvements, not only from a functionality point of view, but also from a performance point of view, scalability point of view, and so on. So we are very excited about 10.1 in server. We are also working hard with applications, because the applications are the interface to all these sophisticated GIS capabilities. And as Jack described in his video, our goal is to really reach out to other users of the GIS system. And we have development projects that work on web applications, and some work on device applications, others work in desktop applications. I'm talking about out-of-the-box applications, applications that you can use and configure very quickly. So you can create or tailor experiences to solve particular problems. I want to highlight a couple of projects that I think will be of your interest. The first one is Windows. Microsoft has just released this new operating system with Metro-style applications. We will have out-of-the-box configurable applications in ArcGIS, so you can deliver that new experience from Microsoft, which is tailored not only for PCs, but also for touch screens. Some of you have also asked that we provide an ArcGIS application, but one that runs on Mac, and we are also working on that, and you will see that very soon in 2013. From a web perspective, we continue developing our ArcGIS viewers, both for Silverlight and Flex, but are also expanding very quickly with a new concept. It's called application templates. These application templates are fundamentally built in JavaScript and HTML5 and allow you, again, to create very focused applications for your users. One of the biggest improvements of the 10.1 release is the notion of having a web map. A web map is a new concept. You can think of it as the ArcMap document of the web. We will be creating web maps today. The beauty of a web map is that you can author it once, defining, I want to look at this base map. On top, I want to display, say, this cadastral layer, and now I want to configure a pop-up. That's the web map. Defines what you want to look at and what functionality you have in the map. It's like a smart map. Well, this smart map, called a web map, can be used from any of the ArcGIS applications. You author it once, and then you use it on the web, on your Mac, on your tablet, on your mobile phone, and so on. A tremendous productivity enhancement. The number of mobile devices and tablets is growing very quickly. You probably have one, an Android device or an iPhone device. We want to move the experience of using ArcGIS into these devices. And we are working hard making sure that these applications, these ArcGIS apps that run on these devices can work not only connected, but also in disconnected mode. Meaning that, say, I can navigate into a neighborhood of Prague. I can look at the map. Well, I'm connected. But now I can push a button and download the surrounding areas. So in case that I lose connectivity, I can keep working, querying, drawing, even changing the information. And then when I gain the connectivity again, I can send that back into the server. This is something that we also plan to release very early in 2013, and will allow you to work in disconnected mode from JavaScript applications, as well as applications that run on, say, natively on iPhone, iOS, Windows Phone, and so on. Of course, we continue evolving our different SDKs and APIs. And since I'm talking about mobile devices, I want to show you an example here back in the iPad again. This is an example that uses our SDK to help people work in the field. Can you see it? Yes? Okay. So the nice thing about this mobile application is that it shows really how people will typically work. This is not my lucky day, I guess. Typically, people are going to work not directly from the GIS application, but they may actually work starting with email. So I'm going to open my email here. I received a message indicating, hey, find the attached work for today. I'm going to click on this file, which has my work for the day, and I'm going to open this within my ArcGIS application, which of course, there you go. Do you see the stops? These stops have been geocoded. In other words, my CSV file has some addresses indicating the points where I need to go, and then the application is simply geocoding them using an ArcGIS service. Now the next step is I may want to go and integrate my GIS application with the contacts I have in my iPad. For example, in one of my contacts, I have the location of the field office. So what I'm going to do is to navigate to the field office and simply say, I want to add a stop there. So keep in mind that stop while I plan my route for the day. Back in my stops, I can actually take the stop I just added and move it to the top, hopefully. Okay, maybe not. I'm going to route. So again, I'm using the GIS to calculate the best order for all of these stops and do my route for the day. Because I'm going to be working in the field, I'm going to use a local base map. This means that the data is loaded in my device and I don't require, say, an internet connection to use my application. In fact, I'm going to make sure that I download all of the stops that I created locally in the device, which is what I'm going to do now. Next, to simulate that I'm working in the field, I'm going to simply go into the settings, and I'm going to turn airplane mode on. This means that I no longer have a connection to the internet. Okay, you can see in the bottom right corner that in fact the application is running offline. Do you see it here? Yes? Okay, no problem. I can still work. In fact, I can even enable things like autopan. This is of course a simulation where the device is using my coordinates, my location, to kind of center them up exactly where I am. And once I have reached my wells for inspection, I can click on them and say I want to simply inspect these wells. So inspections here. Okay, I'm going to click inspect, and here you see that I can set the status. These are all geodatabase domains, of course. I can take a picture and associate it with my inspection. I could take the picture right away using the device camera, or just use one that I already have. I'm going to use it. And when I'm done with my inspection, what I will do is to just sign it and say check. And now this information goes into my device. If I were to connect back into the network, the offline button or signal will go away, indicating that I'm back in business, I'm connected to the network, and now of course I can synchronize my changes with my server. I wanted to show this application because it really illustrates how we can build experiences that are not very GIS-y. Experiences that people using a tablet PC can use to leverage GIS, but completely integrated with the tools that they use every day, like email, contacts, the camera, and so on. It's pretty amazing what you can do with the new runtime SDKs on top of mobile devices. 10.1 is also about transformational changes. So far, I have described some new feature functions, new things that we are adding to the software. They are interesting. We could definitely spend much more time working or talking about these new enhancements. But to me, 10.1 is really more about the transformational changes. It's really about redefining how we use GIS, how we deploy GIS, and what our role is as GIS practitioners. At the beginning of the presentation, I talked about two main drivers for our work in Esri: making sure we build better tools to solve sophisticated problems, and making sure you can expand the idea of using spatial among other people to solve real problems. And this is where, to me, 10.1 is really, really interesting. So I'm going to kind of step back for a second and talk about the essentials of GIS. I'm not going to talk about complicated tools, no. I'm going to talk about something that really everybody can understand, which is maps. What is the power of maps? I guess if I had to answer that, I would say that the power of maps is that it answers questions. I have maps here, and they answer questions. But are the maps powerful by themselves? I don't think so. I think that maps only have true power when they are in the hands of people. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll this map, and I'm going to give it to someone. And now this map is a little bit more powerful because you can see it. And you can discover the answers that is given to a particular problem. So I want to ask you, how many maps that you create never see the light of the day? How many maps that you create never get into the hands of people? And in this aspect, 10.1 is going to help us a lot. Now, we used to share maps on paper like I just did, but imagine that you can share your maps in a device like, say, this, or a tablet, or a web browser, or through Twitter and Facebook. Then the power of this map is going to be multiplied because many more people will be able to access it and see it. The second aspect, or the second requirement for a map to have power, is that this map tells a story. It is very easy for any of you to build a map. You put data on a piece of paper or on a mobile device or a web browser, and that's a map. Well, but what is changing very quickly is the expectations that people have on how they interact and use these maps. It's changing so quickly that some people within the GIS community is losing the track. They are like people building obsolete maps that don't communicate to people because people have other expectations. I would say that maps only have power when they tell a story. People expect cartographic information products from us, not just maps. A map that communicates today a story is not just a map on paper. It's a map that can be moved, zoomed, navigated, a map that responds when you click on things, like if the features were alive. It's a map that runs not only on paper, but also on a web browser and a mobile device. A map that tells a story is a single-purpose map that doesn't have any additional distractions. I will show you a little example. I will illustrate this with an example. This is a real application. Wait, because there is more. This is roughly about 30 seconds of a table of contents. And I wanted to share this demonstration or this application with you because as I said, it is real. Many of us are building maps that don't tell stories. They are maps that run on mobile devices, but they don't tell the stories. Many of us are building web applications and mobile applications that are not suitable for consumption by people, because we create these applications from ourselves. For over 20, 30 years, Esri has been describing to you how you can use ArcGIS software to solve very specific problems. On every release, we have added new tools for you to do more. And as you add more, you get more disconnected from real people. Because these tools are designed so you can solve the hard problems. But how much time do we spend making sure that the result of our hard work is suitable for consumption? How much time do we spend? How many applications we build for the public that have this very long table of contents, identified tools, and gazillion toolbars? Because we think people need them, but they actually don't need them. This is where I think 10.1 brings a lot to the table. Not as in trash all of your work, replace it. No, it's like complement your work with a new breadth of applications. This morning you saw some examples from ARCDATA. I just want to go over them very, very quickly. I think you looked at this application. Is this right? Yes? The application from the Go is telling me what this map is about. It's about urban planning. I don't have to do anything. I just go and navigate the map, and the application is telling me what the particular code for that zone is. In fact, I could use a simple tool to center the map in my location. I could use a simple tool to locate a parcel or a street. And that's it. If this application doesn't have more tools, it is by design. It's so we can make it useful. And we often, as GIS people, take this for granted. And we say, this is so simple, I'm not going to even bother about building this. I want to add more. And I say, as you add more, you lose people. This is a nice cartographic product. Normal people, not GIS practitioners, but normal people really appreciate when we simplify things that way. I like this application because it also shows another pattern for building usable applications. In this case, we have a base map and on top some events. Now, these events could be, well, pretty much anything you like. Could be hotels or cultural events and so on. It's a pattern where you have a table view and a map view. This can apply to many things. Monuments, where my police cars or my field crews are in the field. Where are the incidents for the city? Very simple approach for bringing a map into the hands of a person that doesn't care about GIS, but cares about having the information in a map. Again, if this tool or this application doesn't have more tools, it is by design. These are just two quick applications that show how we can change the way we build GIS for the rest of people. 10.1 is again about opening our world. So we can give you the tools that you need to communicate with citizens, with executives, with scientists and experts, but in a way that doesn't intoxicate, contaminate these cartographic products or information products with the many details and weeds of GIS hardcore technology. Are you following what I'm saying? Is this making you think a little bit? Because here's the challenge. If you are not able to share your work, and when I say share, I don't say making things free on the internet, okay? I say share with your colleagues, with your organization, with the stakeholders. If you are not able to create these information products, you will not be relevant. People will not know what you are. They will consider you a write-only system, right? A system can be write and read. You can put information in, get information out. If you don't get the information out in a manner that is usable by normal people, you are done. Because people will say, hey, I'm spending on imagery, I'm spending on databases, I'm spending on collecting data in the field, and I don't get anything out, or just this bit. I'm not saying people don't get anything, otherwise we wouldn't be here. But the potential that we have to use maps to communicate our work is much bigger than what we typically do today. A bit of it is about technology, just a bit. Most of it is about attitude. Willing to share, understanding the importance of sharing to create relevant products. So in this sense, ArcGIS is at a major turning point. We are engineering ArcGIS so you can build a geography platform for your entire organization. We are building for the GIS practitioner, yes, but we are also building for the rest of people. And that's where your role can change. Because you will stop being just the person that, say, creates maps on paper or for a mobile device, and be the person that can create maps and provide a platform for others to do GIS. GIS in an easy way. This is an artistic representation of the ArcGIS system. This morning, I talked about a few aspects of this system. I talked about all the improvements we are putting in desktop, in server, in the databases. I talked about content, remember? I also talked about applications, how we are evolving our device applications and our browsers, how we will put ArcGIS in Macs and Metro-style applications. I talked about the APIs with this application in the iPad that creates a very tailored experience. But what are about these three things here? Well, let's talk about them for a second. This aspect, ArcGIS Online in the middle, is absolutely fundamental in ArcGIS. As you can see in the chart, everything in ArcGIS goes through ArcGIS Online. This is the gateway into ArcGIS. This is what makes ArcGIS a platform for geographic information. ArcGIS Online is a new way to present your work to people, to normal people that don't have a desktop, don't have knowledge of GIS. In ArcGIS, you can present the featured applications very easily to people so they can simply click and use them. You can create a gallery of your maps. In this case, I'm building this gallery based on popularity. The more a map is used, the higher it gets in this list. Why is this amazing? Because rather than sharing with people a single purpose application, you give them the gateway into the library of GIS data and GIS maps that you have. So when people in an organization connect to the gallery, they realize, oh my God, I didn't know we had this topographic map. I didn't know I could access these particular data sets. Of course, this information can be organized in groups. So depending on who is logging in to the system, they will see one thing or they will see the other. Another very interesting aspect of ArcGIS Online is that this is not just a catalog for people to find your applications and your maps. It's also actually a tool. Is ArcGIS. For us, ArcGIS may mean ArcGIS desktop or ArcGIS server, but for people, ArcGIS is this. I come here, I click on the map, and I can actually build my own maps. So this is, if you like a small ArcView on the web. It has a map that I can configure and change with, different base maps. This is a map that basically allows me to create my own maps. For example, in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch here to this map. I like this map because it's so simple that pretty much anything that I add on top will show very well right away. So in this case, I am using a CSV file which has addresses. It's in my laptop. And I'm dragging the CSV file into the web browser so the GIS can locate the location of these addresses in the Czech Republic and display them on the map. I could do this with a shapefile, with a KML file, with GPX, and so on. And at this point, well, you can, like you do in ArcView, you can say change the look and feel of this map. We call this, let's change the symbology in this case. I'm going to use a little push pin. Okay, and you could even go ahead and create a pop-up. So when people click on these particular push pins, you expose the attributes that you want to them. I'm going to format the fields so these cultural events are shown correctly. Let's actually switch them up and use one like this one. Or maybe I want to give a transparency to the base map. And when I click on, say, one of these events, I get the attributes back. This is a web map. As I said, this web map works in a web browser, but also works in a mobile device. It works on the tablet PC. This map can also be embedded into existing websites, which I will not do here, but you will see this throughout the week. So that is ArcGIS Online, the new gateway into ArcGIS, fundamental piece. This is how you could embed these maps into websites and social media as well. You also saw how I can use my own data within the ArcGIS system to create a map. Search, collaborate with maps, use maps, and very important, self-service mapping. Let's give people an easy tool that they can use to create their own maps. That is what we mean by geography as a platform. Everybody gets maps. All we need to do is to get rid of all the complexities of the science and get to the essentials, just easy maps for people. And they will use your data sets, that's for sure. There are organizations already adopting this pattern, and here are some examples. I'm talking about big petroleum companies, about insurance companies. I'm talking about cities and even countries. ArcGIS, as I described it today, is built so it can be configured for organizations. Don't get confused. This is not about having stuff in the cloud that everybody can see and is not secure. No, we are building this stuff for the enterprise and the cloud. In fact, this new ArcGIS system can be deployed in the cloud, software as a service, but it can also be completely deployed in your own infrastructure. You can even configure it with hybrid approaches, where you keep your data and security tight on part of the data sets, but you also open up to citizens and the public using the cloud. I think these transformational changes are really what you have to learn about this week. There are many features, but I think for us as an industry, as GIS practitioners, thinking twice about how we are more relevant within our organizations and how we can leverage this new wave of user experiences is going to be key for the success of our own organization and the public in general. Thank you very much for your time.